How's everybody doing? Okay, today I know I've been out of the loop for a minute, but I'm putting a theater program together on the 29th of June. We're on for the reading, and then on the 8th and the 14th we have our first performance, and then on the 17th of the same month, and then one in August. So we're hitting it running, and we're having theater issues. Well, anyway, today we're going to talk about uh, compatibility of signs. Even though the signs that are going to be involved are polar opposites of each other, we still have to consider them compatibility of signs. And that's Virgo and Pisces. Virgo and Pisces are opposite of each other. It's earth and water. Right? So normally when we're dealing with opposite signs like Scorpio and Taurus and Leo and Aquarius, we're dealing with someone's shadow being projected upon the other. It is an opposition. Usually one of the two partners lacks psychological awareness, whereas one can project security and strength and the other one can project the opposite. This is the opposite polarity. Normally, when we're dealing with signs that are of opposition to each other, it will be classified as incompatibility of signs. However, with Virgo and Pisces, this is an exception. Even though they're opposite signs and opposite elements, which are still compatible, this falls under compatibility of signs. And we're going to go into the exception as to why this combination out of the other five pairs of signs, that are incompatible, this one is an exception. Because you have to understand that both Pisces and Virgo represent a polarity or a pole of spirituality and enlightenment and the journey back to God. Remember, Pisces represents merging back to the Creator, whereas Virgo, which is the sixth sign, and Pisces, which is the 12th sign, is the midpoint of all 12. Virgo represents that scale, that midpoint of development. We reach full maturity as human beings and self-actualization as human beings through Virgo. After that, the journey becomes going back to God, which begins in Libra and culminates in Pisces. How do we blend these two principles in the context of human personality and ego as defined by clinical sociology and psychiatry, and social work? Well, the one thing that has to be understood is what are the functional mechanisms of Pisces and Virgo. Virgo is the healer of the zodiac. Pisces is the dreamer of the zodiac. But through dreams, you can heal. And as a healer, you can inspire dreams through healing that you would never think possible. Virgo represents the body, while Pisces represents the mind. Mind over matter. If you have an illness, mentally you can conquer it. The mind and the body are one, but the mind, it leads. Both signs can be paradoxical and interchangeable. Virgo is quite capable of being the dreamer and Pisces the healer. Pisces is the ultimate healer, but so is Virgo, but in different and opposite polarities of the spectrum. So, where do we find this combination in nature? Very easy. We can go to the elements, earth and water. When you have them together, you have the birth of plants and trees. Plants and trees cannot grow without the nitrogen in the soil and the water, the oxygen that comes from the water to nurture it. And then, of course, the photosynthesis, which the sun provides to the chlorophyll of the plant. Now you have all of nature working together towards creating this plant species, which is one of our first kingdoms before the humans came into the picture. So understand that Virgo and Pisces, earth and water, represents a harmony, a congruence of nature. Both signs are quite psychic and quite telepathic, and not much has to be said to the Piscean or to the Virgo when it comes to trying to go to the heart of the matter. Pisces uses indirect language to communicate its concerns, and it does it in a way that it allows the person to know what they're feeling and what they want without being direct as to risk hurting the person. But Pisces has the ability to be extremely um, transformative in the sense that Scorpio is, which is the sign of regeneration. No, Pisces, with Pisces, it's a choice. You got some Pisceans that want to retreat and be alone because being outside in the flux of the currents of the energies of the everyday living and life can be a little bit too much for them. But then you have Pisceans that can handle that and can also handle the solitude that so much brings them into balance. When they don't have that tranquil space or that time out where they can be alone to regroup, they can become quite unstable and actually flip into the opposite polarity, which is Virgo, which is the sign of the critic. In that sense, the Piscean man or woman becomes critical. They can become critical to the point where you want to put a bullet in your head. And understand that when the Piscean woman becomes bitchy and critical, and it stays like that 24/7, she's upset about something. And when she's upset about something, she's not going to use direct language and speech to bring across what it is that upsets her. She's going to use indirect language and body language. And she's so skillful and masterful that she will cater it to the psychological understanding of that language that she's going to portray to you, which will not require words. With her mood and her looks and statements that she can make, she can pretty much paint an entire picture of her displeasure of you, a situation, or a nagging concern that she wants or needs addressing. And this is very typical also of Virgo. We know Virgo can be critical, and Virgo can be carping and sometimes condescending and downright cruel in its judgments and assessments. The judgment of Libra begins with Virgo, because Virgo can be very critical. So both signs have the ability to be critical and be very good at it, be direct or subtle. So when you have this symbiotic understanding, this combination can actually live quite harmoniously and do quite well with each other. Both can understand their cues, both can read each other's thoughts and messages and become telepathic, both can show empathy and be empathic, but don't get it twisted. You know, if you have to raise the sword, Libra, Pisces will bring it. Pisces sometimes is seen as weak, but people don't realize that Pisces is a lot tougher and stronger than she seems. She just doesn't like to pull that card. But when she does, it can be as bad as Hiroshima, the atom bomb that fell in Hiroshima in 1947 in Japan, the atom bomb. To this day, nothing grows in that part of Japan. The damage to the earth is permanent. That's the impact that Pisces can have on you when she's pissed off. Hell knows no fury like a woman scorned. We're talking about Pisces. Really, any woman. But understand that the gentle, beautiful, soft, bubbly, almost yummy, yummy nature of the Pisces woman has been breached or violated. For her to become this wonderful dream and fantasy that only men can dream of, to become a total bitch on wheels 24/7, says a lot about what that this woman is. There's something wrong and she has a problem. And the problem is not being addressed. And if it's not being addressed, that's when the dark side of Pisces comes out, which is Virgo, the sign of the critic. And she will tear you down into pieces. And you listen, it's better if you put a bullet in your head than to take that from Pisces. But when she's in that mode, know that you fucked up somehow, somewhere that caused her to be this way. And then she's gonna give you 12 turns. Because remember, she's 12 women in one. And she can do a rotation in an hour, in a second, in a minute, in a month, well, you know. So, when you're dealing with a woman like that, that can be quite paradoxical and quite complex, you're going to have to make a decision quite early not to fuck with this woman, not to breach boundaries, to really take the time to look and observe and truly try to understand where she's coming from. Because she's not one that's going to openly state her position. She's going to expect you to kind of figure it out. She'll give you hints, and she's good at that. She's the queen of giving you hints. But it's up to you to spell out what she wants you to understand. And it's a special language. And you have to understand that most men are not going to have the time for that. And they're not going to have it. Not only will they not have the time, they will not have the tolerance for it. And then this causes the men to perceive the woman, the Piscean woman in particularly, to be weak and to be perceived as weak. Because her approach to conflict resolutions is not the same approach that most of us employ. Remember, this woman is not here to hurt anybody, and the method that she could have hurt somebody without her intention of wanting to hurt somebody is enough to crush her. So these women need objectivity, and when it's a process. It really depends on the maturity, the age, the level of education and exposure of these women. The most unevolved of these women can function in a reactive mode with trigger. No. But the women that are more advanced or more elevated may not respond or react to trigger from the external. If anything, they'll proceed with compassion and understanding. They won't argue. They won't be fighting all the time. They will understand the psychology of the person that they're with. And by understanding that psychology of the person that they're with, they will treat them accordingly. If you have a Pisces woman that's angry all the time and frustrated, and it's the type of woman that we call the shark, because you got the cute fishes, they're gonna go, the cute like Captain Nemo, the cute fish. But don't forget that Pisces also represents the shark, and don't forget sharks are not mammals. Sharks are fishes, and the greatest apex predator in the ocean is the fish, the great white. So understand that with Pisces, you can get both in one. And she's very capable of taking out that great white and devouring you with no mercy. But at the same time, be as loving and as cute and as adorable as the fishes that touch your feet when you're in the Caribbean Ocean beach. Where they come at you and they nibble at your feet. Right? Cute, that's Pisces. But that's not all that's Pisces. Pisces has many polarities and many sides. This woman is 12 and 1. And all the arsenals of the other 11 are at her disposal. So this could be a real dangerous bitch. So, if you want to be at peace with this type of woman, as a Virgo man with a Pisces woman, The best way to love her is to forgive her and show compassion and understanding and allow her to evolve on her own and in her own way. Like Miss Cancer, that also needs to evolve in her own way. When there's a chick that's being born in an egg and she's coming out of the egg, you don't help her out of the shell. You don't take out the shell and help her because you might kill it. You have to allow it to come out on its own. That is the sparrow, the symbolism of the sparrow. And Pisces, one of the symbols of Pisces, in addition to the fishes, is also the sparrow. Okay? And you have to understand that when you are in a relationship with a Piscean woman, the gifts that she can offer you have not reached the imagination of man. Oh, it's deep. She is God. She is the potential of everything and anything that you didn't think you could obtain. Well, if you have a Pisces woman on your side, all dreams are possible and true. But you gotta give her her due. Because if you don't, then she can unleash out the great white and devour you just as effectively and as efficiently as the lion, the apex predator of the land, can devour as well. So, with this combination, a lot rests on maturity, psychological self-awareness, and self-acceptance. And if you're below 30, this might not be the case. So if you are above 30, age 30, it's better. It really depends on the psychological background of the person. Does the person have trauma in their background? If we're talking about a Pisces and a Virgo, the answer to that is most likely a yes one. Because both Virgo and Pisces, along with Scorpio and Sagittarius, are signs of crisis, turning points in the wheel. God has an awful sense of humor. When God wants us to do something, He will strike us with tragedy or a crisis. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I'm gonna do good. I'm gonna do good. We're brought to that point. And God uses these signs to bring about crisis. You have to understand that with this combination, Virgo and Pisces is the signature of the sadomasochist. Oh, you've seen my series. I did 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 8. Sadomasochism belongs to Pisces and Virgo. The sign of the sadist and the masochist. The sadist inflicts pain. The masochist accepts pain because he believes that he is deserving of pain. The sadist inflicts pain because he's angry that he has been inflicted pain. So the pain that he has been inflicted upon, now he feels that he has to use that to inflict others. And he will always find a willing participant. He is the predator, while the masochist is the victim. This is par excellence the signature of Virgo and Pisces. If you find yourself in this relationship dynamic, understand that there is psychological anger in this relationship. And it doesn't have to be Virgo, Pisces. You could be a Pisces, man or woman, and be involved in a relationship with any other sign of the zodiac and still recapitulate the archetype of the sadomasochist in those relationships with those other signs. If you have a Pisces in your life, understand that that Pisces that's in your life is here to either inflict pain or redeem you and rescue you of your own pain that you have inflicted yourself in. Pisces is the healer. So if you're in a relationship with a Pisces man or a woman, it is most likely that you come from abuse or you come from trauma. And the Piscean person is there to rescue you and redeem you and educate you and transform you and take you out of that trauma so that you can, like say, life can continue on. And this is especially true if you're born a karmic number like the number 13, number 14, number 16, or number 19. A Pisces woman involved with men of any of these signatures is there to redeem that man or heal that man or transform that man or woman so that they can move on as their life was supposed to. So Pisces is also the rescuer and the redeemer. Oh, you have to understand that in this relationship dynamic, the tables can, the reasons behind the sadomasochist pathology with Pisces is because there is something that the soul has to resolve with that individual. Both souls of the individuals have some beef with each other that they gotta resolve. And this beef did not begin in this life. It began in other lifetimes. Because Pisces represents past lives and past life experiences, past life recall. Neptune in the 12th house and Pisces. They represent past life dynamics. So understand that if you're in a relationship with a Pisces woman or a Pisces man, they are also giving you hints and clues as to the relationship dynamic that took place in the former lifetimes that the Pisces person in your life now is here to redeem you from or evolve you from. But it can also work in the opposite polarity, where the Pisces man or woman is here to inflict punishment and pain because Pisces also rules karmic retribution. So therefore, she might be the bitch that's going to bring you down because of the consequences of your actions in other lifetimes. And so now, in this instance, she becomes the executioner. Remember, she represents the 12th. That's Jacob's ladder. That's going back to God. And if you want to return and go back into the wheel of rebirth and do it all over again, you come at a higher level of being than the last life that you left. But things very seldom run smoothly in mundane matters when it comes to Pisces, both men and the woman. The men figure a little better, believe it or not, even though they can be quite reckless and quite a number. The Pisces woman figures better in the sense that she has more compassion and more stability. You know, she's a lot tougher than she seems. She appears vulnerable and weak, but there's nothing vulnerable or weak about this woman or this man. And you can be bamboozled if you let your guard down. So understand that although this combination is a rather peaceful combination and a very healing combination, there are going to be problems. And the problems will usually stem from differences in philosophy. You know, the Piscean woman may think a certain way and be very critical and very set in her psychological fortitude in her thinking. And she won't budge for anybody unless she chooses. The same thing with Virgo. Virgo is very critical. Virgo is known for being quite critical and quite, mean-spirited or unkind in his criticism. But that kind of indifference is the indifference from the opposite polarity of Pisces, who really doesn't give a shit. She can get to that level of not giving a shit, but most likely she would give a shit. For her to get to that level, though, where she don't give a shit about your feeling and comes out and do what she does, whatever she says she does, that means that she has reached her breaking point. And when that happens, now the shark, the great white shark, comes out to devour you. And God forbid that you have a cut. Because a little speck of blood in the ocean, a shark can smell 3 miles. You're done. God forbid you have a cavity. So they can smell that too. So they're coming for you. That's Pisces. And we're done with part one.